If you guys have seen any of me playing any other video game, you know that even average games are kind of hard for me. So I can only imagine how brutal Elden Ring from the creator of Dark Souls is. It seems brutal, and thankfully Sseth has played it so that I don't have to. Let's get into it.
Hey people, Sseth here. The following is highly experimental and may come off as disjointed or schizophrenic. I don't
No, Sseth content? Disjointed? No, you guys, no way.
care. Elden Ring, the newest hot release by Hideo Miyazaki of Ghibli Studios, famous for classic animations such as Howl's Moving Mausoleum and My Invader Totoro. From Software have really outdone themselves.
Gotta love creepy crabs.
As this game features not one, but two crustaceans, possibly even more.
Sseth and crabs have a long history, I'm learning.
Unfortunately, I haven't unlocked the ability to swim, so I cannot confirm or deny that. The game begins, and I make my character. His name? Sambubu. His class, naturally, is wretched. I did originally consider prisoner, but I chose not to. I take the key as my starting item, and live to regret it after I get immediate access to a side dungeon and get run over repeatedly by a speeding train. I chosen.
Wow, that's a weird bonus. Is this a thing in Elden Ring where you just, if you randomly pick a bad talisman, you just get smashed? Or do you have to like complete the quest to unlock the talisman's power? I wanted to thank today's video sponsor, Roman. Did you know that 52% of men will experience ED in their lifetimes? And ED isn't just a health concern. It can affect men's confidence and self-image. If ED is something that you're struggling with, Roman is here to help. Roman is a digital health clinic for men. It allows you to be evaluated, diagnosed, and receive treatment all from the comfort of your own home. Roman connects you with a US licensed health provider who will evaluate your condition and, if appropriate, prescribe FDA-approved medication. Because Roman is a telehealth platform, the entire process can be done from your home. Shipping is discreet, and 2-day shipping is always free, and ED treatments start as low as $2 a dose. The initial visit and follow-ups are also free, and Roman also deals with other male health concerns like hair loss. Start your visit with $15 off your first treatment, if prescribed, by using my link at getroman.com/MHGR. That's getroman.com/MHGR. And thanks again to Roman for sponsoring today's video.
Instead, to go the other way. After camping a few times, Melina comes by and offers me an accord. I turn it down because I think it's funny. I then proceed to kill Morgott and Godric before I realize I haven't leveled up. How was I supposed to know I had to say yes? Miyazaki, just because I'm offered the ability to talk to a woman doesn't mean I'm going to take it.
That's some Chad shit right there. Here's the thing, guys. If a stranger starts offering you a random deal, if you've lived literally more than 30 seconds on planet Earth, you know that when a stranger offers you a good deal, you should politely but firmly tell them to go F off. Can I say fuck? No. F off, right? Usually people don't give you unsolicited offers. There's a saying, I think it's actually a guy named Alex Hormozy, who's a consultant to other salesmen and companies and stuff. But one of the things he said, I think it's he who says it, the best product, the more hype you need to sell a product, the worse it generally is, right? Look at how little hype you needed to sell Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? The hype came from the users who said this is great. And contrast that with some of these shady crypto projects that come out, right? They're sort of not, they're terrible, right? There was one that allegedly was a cryptocurrency to pay MMA fighters, that somehow if you bought the currency, the devs would give MMA fighters money. You know what's an even better way to do it? You donate to MMA fighters. You just send them $200 instead of buying some POS token, right? That's going to drop to zero. And sure enough, you can see that it spiked and then got rugged, right?
I think that's a symptom of...
So I look at this random, especially if it's backed by an attractive young woman. Yeah, listen, dude, attractive young women aren't coming up to you in the street and being like, I have an offer for you. If they do, politely but firmly say, no thanks, eyes focused right ahead, maybe check around you, right?
of bad design. Conversely, I fell for the oldest trick in a book, the warm embrace of a woman's lap, only to find out 100 hours later it's actually a debuff. What did they mean by this? I guess I'll have to consult a 40-minute lore video to figure out the true symbology behind this item description. I tell you, passive storytelling at its very best, especially when half of characters either disappear, die, or start T-posing during your playthrough. This might bother people who...
Yeah, that sounds, I mean, it can be like the real world, right? Sometimes in the real world, you get offered a binary choice and you don't understand the full repercussions of either choice. And this is true in a lot of situations, right? You may get 2 job offers, but what you don't know is that one of those jobs is a horrifically toxic workplace and the other one is honest when they say there's a lot of opportunities for advancement, right? And it's hard because you don't always get to know these things until after, if ever. But you have to acquire as much information as you can get to make these sort of decisions wisely. I think about when I was deployed, the Army was like, you can store your stuff or we will store it for you. And I thought, well, this is obvious what I should do. I want to have the Army store my stuff. I don't want to store my own stuff. Well, I owned 2 duffel bags worth of things. And if I had told the Army that I would store my own stuff, they would have given me $10,000 as a storage fee. I lost 10 G's because because I didn't fully understand, because I didn't have all the information I needed to make a decision, and I wasn't thinking about the fact that I should get all the information, right? And you can get information by asking people that have gone through it before, asking more questions the person offering it to you, or just actually reading the contract or terms and descriptions.
Who believe...
Not, of course, in the case of a mythical woman who offers you a hug, again, strange woman offering hugs, peace out, is a universally acceptable rule.
There's a story, which is the equivalent of finding a bunch of random notes and thinking to yourself, damn, that book was wild. Halo's plot is crazy. Have you not read all the secret terminals? On the bright side, Dark Souls lore channels now have a steady source of bread for the next 4 years. I assure you, you'll know every side character better than your own family. I don't remember which war Granddad was fighting, but I do know Patches. I know that, canonically, he is circumcised. Honestly, I don't judge. I still get to have my wife Ronnie. What I'm criticizing is the involvement of this fat fuck. Celebrated offer, helping to weave the narrative experience? Okay, let's see what this dude wrote. Sunset found her squatting in the grass, groaning. Every stool was looser than the one before and smelled fouler. But by the time the moon came up, she was shitting brown water. The more she drank, the more she shat. But the more she shat, the thirstier she grew, and her thirst sent her crawling to the stream to suck up more water. I rest my case.
Okay, so he's just describing dysentery by someone who has never seen a disease before, right? This is like the real Lord of the Rings, unfortunately, right? And Lord of the Rings just hand waves away all sorts of problems you would have, like, did Frodo spend weeks out of commission because he drank bad water? No, of course not, right? It's not even clear in the shots of them crossing hundreds of miles of plains and stuff that they even have water, right? If you've done more than 30 seconds of backpacking, you know that if you're going to go to a land of volcanic ash and fire, you need to carry your own water, right? And you're going to need to carry a lot of it. Yet, the Fellowship carries none of it. And so that sort of bothers me when you hand wave away essential things, right? Again, if you've spent any time in the field, you know that just food, water, eating, sanitation, keeping your hands clean, keeping your food clean, avoiding contamination, keeping scratches, scrapes, and wounds clean. These things are life and death problems, right? And yet we just hand wave them away in so many works of fiction. And I understand, right? Lord of the Rings would be boring. So yes, it's not very dramatic, but George R.R. Martin, I appreciate that he acknowledges this is a real problem people have.
J.R.R. Martin is
so that was sort of graphic.
The greatest author who has ever lived. He has also never finished his books. And so, fittingly, From Software has embodied the spirit of J.R.R. Martin by never finishing a single quest line. Elden Ring is an ambitious platformer, and if you disagree, you haven't played the game, because half this game is jumping with a head start, or falling into a hole, into a canyon, into the place you originally wanted wanted to, but accidentally jumped before doing so, adding an extra foot to the height of your fall, which turned it into a lethal descent. There's nothing I love more than jumping awkwardly off rooftops. But, how do we spice it up? Archers. You love archers. They're on every roof, and they've got tracking. And guess what? The sewer levels are back. And this time, they're essential to the plot. Yeah, I'm thinking game of the year. Calling them out in your game, Torrent. Absolute genius. So, anybody Googling Elden Ring Torrent gets a bunch of horse pictures instead. I can't wait until Elden...
That's actually pretty brilliant. I have a theory. You notice that the day that the Facebook whistleblower was due to testify, Facebook experienced a pretty significant outage of service. And so if you Googled Facebook issue, Facebook problem, Facebook down, almost anything, you would get results. The news stories would actually have pushed out the news about the whistleblower and replaced it in the algorithms. The most current news item about Facebook would be the Facebook outage, which was a routine item, right? Actually, I think it was the day after they had testified, right? So that way, Facebook news, you were already pushing it down in search algorithms, pushing it towards irrelevancy. And it's something that I think a lot of companies do that just doesn't get acknowledged enough, that they will play little word games, they will deliberately release or promote sort of pun footage. There's also a conspiracy theory, and I don't think this one's true because it's pretty far-fetched, that Disney's Frozen was titled that so that the uncomfortable fact that Walt Disney also was cryogenically frozen and is in storage somewhere in Florida doesn't get, seen when you Google it.
Elden Ring 2 features the popular and beloved character Codex de Nuvo Pre-Cracked No Virus. But why are we here?
Oh, dude. Oh, wait, I gotta take another screenshot. God damn it, screenshot.
We're here for the difficulty because we're hardcore gamers. Take it from me. I've already beaten the final boss, John Elden Ring, so I can give a few pointers. Have you ever used a weapon, armor, fast travel, potions, or opened the world map? I'm sorry to say, but you're playing the game wrong. This game is meant to be played level 1 as a wretch, using a single club, no upgrades. If you disagree, I'll call you a casual. If you ever hear someone talking like this, take pity on them, because this behavior is characteristic of someone who stacks no paper and gets no bitches.
You gotta love the constant purity tests. And it's true in almost every hobby that there are people who have somehow self-appointed themselves the gatekeepers of the hobby, and they have decided which purity tests you must pass in order to be a true X or Y or Z in their eyes. And it's funny, there's this larger belief that a lot of people seem to have, where the harder you make something for yourself, the better it is. Because that's true in a lot of things, right? A lot of people take the easy way out of their problems. But we think about the instances where that's the case. For example, the person who doesn't exercise or eat right or eat well, is overweight and develops health issues over time, right? You say, oh, that person took the easy way out. But look at all the things you do in your life where you just take the easiest route because it makes sense, right? For example, do you brush your teeth the hardest way possible? No, you brush your teeth the easiest way possible, right? And if there was a way to make it even easier and faster, you would do that, right? Everyone would. That's why we have electric toothbrushes. It's literally just as effective, but faster. Similarly, do you drive to work the hardest way possible, right? No, of course not. You just take the fastest route, right? Or the easiest, or a fast and easy route. Most 99% of the things that you do in life, you do the easy way, and you do it an even easier way if you find one. So this idea that there's other things in life that you get bonus points for doing things, for struggling epically, is just stupid. You should, look hard and ask yourself, is struggling harder at this going to actually give me a return? Or is it just going to make me pat myself on the back, right? And the truth is, a lot of the time, the answer is this is just me patting myself on the back. You don't get bonus points. You don't change the outcome. Or you get to satisfy some random person who decided they're the keeper of purity.
This game isn't hard, not because it's not hard, but because video games fundamentally aren't hard. You know what's hard? The circumstances of life, getting a degree, having a stable family.
Explaining a singular comment would be incredibly complicated. I'm essentially referring to stable as defined by firmly established, permanent, not changing, fluctuating, permanent, in reference to a stable family, the expectation of which is subverted by showing a centaur female, which if you were in a monogamous long-term relationship with and had children with, could also be referred to as a stable family. We know what stable means. Yeah, it's not good for like human beings. I mean, we need variety and we need stability, but like in our relationships, especially, stability is tremendously valuable.
Being born with a baby arm. You're born and one arm develops normally into an adult arm, but the other is this stunted mini child arm, which stops growing at like 3 years of
Where is he going with this?
age. So you're this freakish monstrosity. You'll be known around town as Baby Arm Man, and the only job you'll ever have is baby arm stock photo, because it's harder for them to get a kid to pose for that. It's a lot more convenient to have a malformed monster.
Did he? Okay, I feel like he had some sort of video length requirement. Maybe this is sponsored by Elden Ring, and they were like, at least 15 minutes, and he's like, shit. 15 minutes and 9 seconds is where it clocks in at.
Monstrosity.
Let's see how long he stretches this out.
Furthermore, I genuinely believe that
Okay, shout out to this dude who, first off, where did they find this absolutely insane interface? Because this is so crowded and annoying. Second, I love the Call of Duty Ranger. That's the Ranger tab of Ranger Regiment, and those are sort of M4s. And this dude's carrying a dual-sided lance, which doesn't make any sense.
Pattern recognition is a form of cheating. Your Homo sapiens brain is literally destroying the difficulty of the experience by compensatory adaptation. I hope that people consider this in the future and later learn to recognize that the truest From Software experience would be a lobotomite.
Okay, I appreciate that Sseth and I are in the exact same, talking about the exact same thing. He's even more sarcastic. I'm going to move past this image because this is grisly. Okay. Yeah, Sseth and I are in agreement. You don't get bonus points in life for doing things pointlessly hard. Right? This is, and you see people like that where they're just like, I worked a back-breaking job for $15 an hour for 30 years. And I'm like, that sucks. And like, but like, you don't get bonus points for having a really hard, like, underpaying job. You just made less money and hurt yourself. Like, and I get it. Some people, again, there's a distinction. You have to do what you have to do. And if you were like, that was the only job I could get, and if I didn't, my family would starve, there was no better way, that was the most efficient way, then like, respect, you know? But some people are just like, they're proud of how trapped they are. Some people like, they're like proud of how viciously terrible their relationships are. And you're just like, you could just break up. You could just stop whenever you want.
Prior to playing, we perform a frontal lobotomy and sever your prefrontal cortex. Sometimes, the only option you have to preserve the purity of your experience is brain damage. Multiplayer enhances the experience. Sometimes you'll see white phantoms briefly appear. These are players from other worlds going through their own journey. Once, I saw a white phantom appear, teabagging a dead NPC. In this moment, I knew I was playing a masterpiece. Messages and appraisal are exactly how Reddit users believe karma works. You upvote, and you get actual physical nourishment from the karma. Oh look, a message on the floor. Maybe someone out there will tell me something useful. Then you open it and read it, only to see dog butthole, closely followed by Fortnite. According to a true story, once upon a time, Miyazaki...
I mean, those are actually that's just good, wholesome, funny trolling.
His car broke down in the middle of a road. This was during winter, so no help was to be found, when suddenly 3 strangers appeared out of nowhere, sucked him off, and left without...
Dude, okay, I refuse to believe that he is not being paid to make an Elden Ring video and just just gives no fucks.
even saying a word. And that's how
Though he did tell us this was even more disjointed than Seth's usual stuff.
Miyazaki got the inspiration for Souls multiplayer. Gameplay, flawless, stunning, effervescent. Just like Bloodborne was a complex allegory for sexually transmitted HIV, Elden Ring is a rich synesthesia between seeing Swampland and remembering Blighttown, or hearing Leyendell long after you've left the capital, because my ears are still ringing from the sound of those fucking trumpets. Actual, real critique. No jokes, no giggles. I think every boss should have a stake of America outside the boss room. Generally, this is true, but sometimes I gotta walk. And traditionally, I do not consider cardio as part of a boss fight. Now, the walks are more generous than any other Souls game, but just because somebody chose to take a smaller shit in my rice doesn't change the fact that it's still there. Inside my bowl, steaming up my Tupperware. I would also have originally...
Thank you for stopping, man. Unfortunately, in the real world, you don't always get to prepare or even get noticed that you've got a tremendous challenge in front of you, right? And this is why when people are like, be prepared for anything, this is the reality, is that, yeah, like sometimes the boss fight comes when you are least able to handle it.
said that the death screen is quite long, but then I realized it's working as intended. You see, when you die in PvP, you have no option but to watch helplessly as someone spams point down and repeatedly defiles your dead body. My complaints are pretty mild. If
Wait, what is this? What is this meme? I know I love a good meme. And then we'll jump out of the planet to land as a destructive meteorite. And the Chad Horse is like, yes. That sounds like a 40k. In fact, that looks like a 40k character, I think.
If, like me, you didn't realize Vigor has a non-linear scaling, it would have helped immensely to know that going 10 to 20 makes no tangible difference, but 20 to 40 is all the difference between taking a blow and getting one-tapped by most of the game. I wish I knew that at the start. Luckily, this game is very generous with its ability to...
Damn, he just gets fatter and fatter in every screenshot, and I think that's actually hilarious, right? I mean, this is literally a vigorous man. Though to be clear, there are diminishing returns. If you look at like the World's Strongest Man type competitions, they don't actually look like this. They are much wider in build. Their stomachs generally are somewhat flatter because a lot of their muscle mass and accompanying fat is distributed all over their body, right? And there's this myth that if you want to be strong, you should look like a bodybuilder. And bodybuilders, and the reality is that for your body to build muscle, it needs to have an accompanying higher body fat percentage. They call it being in an anabolic state, I think. And that's where you eat a calorie surplus, your body stores some of it as fat, and converts all of it to repair your muscles, which you've, microscopically torn by working out. In contrast, right, if you're a bodybuilder, you're going to then enter your catabolic state. And your catabolic state is one in which your body is beginning to operate at a calorie deficit. And what you do is you continue to work out. So you tell your body, hey, you have to preserve this muscle tissue, but you want your body to start eating away the fat. And that provides the muscles that definition. So when you look at World's Strongest Men, right, and those sort of, or powerlifters, non-weight class powerlifters, I mean, they aren't leaned out. They don't look like this guy, right? This guy who obviously just has a tremendous amount of fat around his gut, but they don't look leaned out. They look big and powerful.
With its ability to reroll your character. If you're still paranoid, you can back up your save at no risk. I've done this more than 100 times without issue and recommend you do the same, because despite what anybody says, there's a million ways to brick your save. I've done it, I can reproduce it, it's still there. Also, easy anti-cheat is a very good anti-cheat because it's very easy to turn off. My friend may have done exactly that, and more. Tell me, Sseth, was he punished? Is he banned? No, some of the later fights have interesting hitboxes. Not like I care. I cheesed through that shit. This game makes you realize the greatest companion you'll ever have is yourself. So...
Nice.
Why not make a copy? Lore. Before continuing, we have to stop and talk about the best character in the game. Dung Eater. Loathsome. Dung Eater. Ferocious. Feaster of feces. Devious. Doo-doo devourer.
What? Is this a real name?
Dung Eater consumes excrement, feces, shit even, nihilistic, and with a wicked sense of humor. His greatest desire is to eat the poo-poo, and of course, murder you and defile your dead body. I think there's a lot we can learn from Dung Eater, but as a society, we're not yet ready for that conversation. Builds.
What? Guys, if you're helping, there are some... Never mind. We're not going to talk about any of this. We're just going to move on.
There's many builds. Strength is terrible until you realize you can power stance through the entire game and block everything else with barricade shield for 0 stamina. Going strength, unfortunately, puts you at the highest risk group for naming yourself the Black Swordsman and cosplaying as your favorite slice of life anime. If I see you doing this, I'll summon you intentionally so I can kick you for my...
I mean, listen, again, you don't get bonus points for being like, my name is Shield Atorian, and I am a paladin. And like, dude, you don't get bonus points. Like, play the game the way you want. It's a game. It's a game. I don't know how to tell everyone this, but these things are games. They're entertainment. A tiny number, a tiny fraction of a fraction of a fraction of people make their money on them. And look, Sseth is one of those people, and he doesn't take any of these games any more seriously than they deserve to be taken.
My world. Dexterity. Do you enjoy katanas? How about double katanas, each one longer than the last, using realistic, historically accurate sword techniques from feudal-era Japan? What about epic PvP compilations? Say no more. Get a river of blood today. Intelligence. Some would say...
I appreciate that it's not spelled properly. So there's actually a myth about different types of intelligence, and but it appears in the research that there is specific types of intelligence, certainly, and there's specific domains in which people can be intelligent. And I think that's the thing, right? There's the innate trait, what I'm going to call like, oh my gosh, what is it? Like theoretical reasoning. Where you can draw inferences from patterns, detect complex patterns, and infer future patterns, right? That's sort of a generalizable intelligence. But let's talk about smarts, the sort of intelligence that we talk about colloquially. And this is the ability to do a high skill thing well, or an ability to like understand a complex topic well. And there's a lot of people that are intelligent in different domains, but one of the things that really, really bothers me a lot is when people think they're geniuses in one domain and they carry that over to other sort of unrelated domains, or domains that they think are related, but they only think they're related because they're so ignorant to it. This would be like a car mechanic who works on like stock, like road cars, believing that they would be comparably skilled at being a mechanic of, say, an F1 car, right? They're two different skills. They are vastly different, and there's almost no chance that they would know perhaps more than the average person, but they would not be, no matter how good of a stock car mechanic you are, you probably would never be qualified to be the mechanic on an F1 racing car. Similarly, right, you have a lot of researchers who go, well, I'm an expert in thing X, and so therefore I'm going to weigh in on thing Y. This is hard because in this day and age, a lot of experts in one area, they want attention, and the only way to get attention is to talk about everything, to make everything be that thing that you're an expert in. And it's the joke on, it's like people joke that everyone on Twitter went from being a virology expert to a geopolitics expert overnight. And it's pretty aggravating to see, I am not a virology expert and I don't purport to be, but I'm actually sort of an expert in a certain set of aspects of modern warfare. I literally have a master's degree in it and a whole lot of field experience. But even me, I don't sit there. You hear my breakdowns, and I caveat everything with, well, this is a different unit, different tactics, and I think I'm pretty generous, honestly, with people recognizing that there's a lot of things that I don't know about what I'm seeing. And that's the other thing that I think defines really true experts, like true dyed-in-the-wool experts, is they will sit there and be like, they will tell you the exact limits of their knowledge, right? And oftentimes they'll say, well, it's like every good lawyer. A good lawyer is always going to answer with, it depends. And every bad lawyer is going to be like, no, you should sue. You'll get millions. Like no lawyer is going to tell you, no good lawyer is going to tell you that.
A great deal of our enjoyment comes from learning the moveset of every boss. A rhythmic dance between sword, swipe, and parry. A lethal symphony, silenced only by death. Others would disagree. I'm confident that if you ask any player running sorcery, what's their favorite boss, they'll recoil in surprise and say, I don't know any. I just sit at the back and spam Azure Comet. Faith incantations are very good. Abusing the animation of Catch Flame to cast them instantaneously is even better. And before you say it, I know. It's working exactly as intended. You know what else is intended? This. Also this. And this. My greatest enjoyment of this game, beyond the exploration, the richness of the graphics, and the scale of the world they made, has been abusing every mechanic I possibly can before it gets patched out. And so, inevitably, I have taken to abusing other players. You might call them humans. I call them people who use Moonveil unironically. And thus, I feel no remorse for any of my actions. In some
I mean, as discussed, if you want to make a game impossibly hard, you have to expect that people will pull out all the stops to beat it. This is probably a feature, not a bug, right? If you make things hard, you're going to get people that try really hard.
Summary: Elden Ring attracts many different responses. Some fillet the long shaft of FromSoft endlessly. Others hate it because of their own incompetence. Walking manifestations of a Dunning-Kruger effect, these people believe that failure is not their own and somehow inflicted upon them by the universe. You can't be bad at video games, as video games are merely a subject matter. No, that is a deficit in your cognitive ability. Something that likely plagues you in every aspect of your life.
This is funny because obviously it's a skill set. You can cultivate skill sets in a lot of things, right? Not everything. There are some skill sets, like I am technically slightly colorblind. I know the army would waver in anyone with a pulse. But I am technically slightly colorblind. And so color identification, I will never be able to cultivate that skill, right? There's a ceiling. But for lots and lots of other skills, lots and lots of people can cultivate them. You just have to choose to put in the time and effort and ask yourself, is this skill worth cultivating?
In summary, if you're bad at video games, you're bad at life. You've got a smooth brain and a low IQ. Your fate is to be a grunt in the New World Order. And then there's others, like me, who are quietly waking up to the fact that maybe we should have never dropped those bombs to begin with. I guess what I'm trying to say is Elden Scrolls 10 out of 10 garbage. I love it. As always, more content to come. Sustain.
Wow, this is okay. More content to come, and yet there's still like 4 minutes of video.
Tuned. If you're interested in some merchant multiplayer, password FUGHUNT goes in all fields. First 50 to invade get a 15% off their first month of FUGHunters.com, the official sponsor of this video. And now, allow me
Nice, man. Nice.
to conclude this presentation with some calming visuals. Rest assured, most of the things seen here can no longer be afflicted on another human being. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos.
Is this-
You're all truly wonderful. Have a good one.
Oh god, there's even more. And it's set to bad music. Oh Jesus. Also, this is HD. This gameplay is like recorded from Twitch or something. It's not very good. And this is a naked man somersaulting. And that's a man with clothes also somersaulting. And a giant wizard hat. All right, Elden Ring is weird. I think whoever made it is probably on some form of drug. Anyway, guys, this has been a fun 10 minutes of video. Weird, but all right. Thank you guys for joining me, man. Thank you guys. I'm sorry to say I will never be playing Elden Ring, but I also have patrons on Patreon, and if you want access to some exclusive content, Patreon is the place. Check the link in the description. As well, in the description is the link to my Twitch. I want to thank our Lieutenant tier patrons, Cole Foster, Command Unit, Caffeinated, Jacob Flavius, Chris, Dr. Shadowcop, Porterworld, Time, Brandon Armitage, Telruin, Astro Hunter, and Z1 Joker. You guys make this content possible. Thank you. And that's all I got. Thanks for coming by. I'll see you in the next one.